Dear students, welcome to the very last class on personal planning and recruiting. So till now, in the last two classes, we have discussed these issues. So we have discussed what is workforce planning, what is the difference between recruitment and selection, and finally, we have looked into the different recruitment methods. Now we are going to finish this chapter with our last discussion on this topic, outsourcing of recruitment process. So before I start explaining what outsourcing of recruitment process is, I just want to start by explaining what outsourcing is. Again, it is a concept that all of you have read by now in different courses. So in BUS 101, Business Environment, and many other courses. But even then, I want to give you a brief recap of what do we mean by outsourcing. So let's start. So outsourcing is basically getting a task done by somebody else or a third party. As simple as that. So instead of doing a task on your own, you are getting somebody else to do the job. It can be any task or any job. Let me give you an example here. Suppose a task was given to you, all right? Now somehow, for some reason, you are ill and you couldn't understand the task properly, but you have a deadline to meet. So what you do now is that you ask one of your friends to do the task for you. So that is basically outsourcing. So again, you get the task done by somebody else. And in return, maybe you tell him that you will give him a treat somewhere else. So you give him a huge treat like this. Maybe you take him to Chilox or something like that, right? So again, outsourcing is basically getting a task done by somebody else or a third party. And we call it outsourcing the job or outsourcing the task. So now I guess you had a small refresher on what we mean by outsourcing. Now, what is outsourcing of the recruitment process? All right. So again, it is very simple. So here goes the formal definition. Organizations might choose to get the recruiting of a person done by other organizations or some other third party. So what is happening here? An organization needs to recruit a person. Now, instead of recruiting a person on their own, an organization is basically getting the recruitment task done by some other organization or third party. What is happening here? We are outsourcing the task of recruitment. So rather than doing the recruitment task on your own, if a company asks another company to do the recruitment task for them, then it is called outsourcing of recruitment process. Don't get confused, it's very easy to understand. Let me give you an example here. Say, Tasin is an HR manager of company ABC. Remember the CEO here? Now say she wants to recruit some CEO like this. Now she has two options. One of the options is that she can do the task on her own. So she can recruit or attract potential candidates for the CEO post on her own. So that's one of the possibilities. Now the other possibility is outsourcing the task of recruitment. Say, right at this moment, Tasin does not know very good candidates who can be really worthy for the post of the CEO. She doesn't know anyone who can do the job of the CEO really well. So now what she does is she goes to another company, company XYZ, and asks them to find out or attract or recruit 4 to 5 potential CEO candidates for her company, company ABC. So that is basically outsourcing of recruitment process. So Tasin basically gave the task of recruiting a CEO to some other company. In this case, company XYZ. Trust me, there are a lot of companies like XYZ who are specialized in recruiting. These companies recruit people for many other companies. We will get to know the details about these companies very soon. Now, what are some of the reasons for outsourcing? Number one, not having enough skill within the organization to recruit qualified people. Say, I am an HR manager of a given company and I want to recruit a very sophisticated programmer. Now, my company does not have a recruiter who properly understands what are the skills of a qualified programmer. Maybe they do not know how to design an effective ad that will be really effective in attracting really good programmers. So that is why my organization may decide to outsource this activity to some specialized recruiting companies. So that's one of the reasons, not having enough skill within the company. Then another reason is recruit important candidates. For example, CEO, CFO, CTO, CMO, and others. Trust me, recruiting a CEO is a really important and difficult task. I mean, finding out a really qualified candidate for the CEO post, my God, it's really difficult. So in recruiting for such high level positions, usually the method is a little bit different. So just to tell you, for graduate level posts, we see a lot of advertisements, right? On Facebook, on LinkedIn, and other stuff. However, for such high level posts, we usually do not see heavily publicized advertisements because advertisement is not the main method of recruitment here. So for high level posts, advertisement is not that much used. There are other methods used for recruiting CEOs and selecting CEOs. And as the task is really important, often many companies outsource the recruiting of CEOs to other specialized companies. Why? Because these specialized companies know a lot of good candidates for a CEO post. They maintain a huge database of potential candidates who are worthy of being a successful CEO or CFO or some other high level posts. We don't need to go into the details of it very much, but there is a section in this presentation where I'll tell you more about these type of companies. And finally, the last reason is to cut down on the time spent in recruiting. So basically to save time. So if a company needs to save time and recruit or attract people faster, they outsource the task to some other company. Why? Again, because the specialized companies have a lot of worthy candidates, or they maintain a database of worthy candidates whom they can contact within a very short notice. So these are some of the reasons for outsourcing the recruitment process. We will get to know about this in more detail later. So we have learned what is outsourcing of the recruitment process. Now, to whom can we outsource? What are the different type of companies we can outsource to? So when we are outsourcing our recruitment process, these are some of the different types of companies to whom we can outsource the task of recruitment. So number one, we have recruitment process outsourcers. Then we have on-demand recruiting services, then headhunters, and finally temporary employment agency, also known as temp agency. So we are going to look at each of these points one by one. So let's start with recruitment process outsourcers. All right, let's take a look. Recruitment process outsourcers are special vendors or companies that handle all or most of the recruitment activities of an organization. This is the crucial part. Handle all or most of the recruitment activities of an organization. Don't worry, I'm explaining this. It's very easy. Let me give you an example here again. Say company A. Now, company A in a given year needs to recruit a lot of people. They need to recruit marketing managers, technology managers, chief finance officer, management trainees, and many more. Now, instead of doing any of these recruiting activities on their own, company A decides that they are going to outsource 100% of their recruitment activities or all of the recruitment activities to company Z. Whatever the type of recruitment is, whoever needs to be recruited, company A is not going to do it on their own. Rather, they are going to get it done by company Z. So they are outsourcing 100% of their recruitment activities. Now, in this case, company Z is called recruitment process outsourcers. Why? Because this company Z handles all of the recruitment activities of company A. Again, this company Z specializes in providing recruitment related services. So they provide recruitment service to company A and in return takes monthly payment or monthly fee. All right. So two major points is company Z handles 100% or 90% or most of the recruitment activities. And in return, company Z receives monthly fee for their service from company A. Now, some of the major examples of recruitment process outsourcers are Manpower Group Solutions and Grandstand SourceRight. So they are reputed recruitment process outsourcers. So I guess now it's clear what do I mean by recruitment process outsourcers. Now let's move on to the next one, which is on-demand recruitment services. It's very similar to the previous one with one single major difference. If you understand that difference, it will be a crystal clear concept to you. Listen very carefully. So the formal definition is on-demand recruitment services are those who handle recruitment activities of an organization partially or on a project basis. So basically not 100%. All right. So again, they do perform recruitment activities of an organization, but partially or on a project basis. So in the earlier case, the recruitment process outsourcers did 100% or 90% or most of the recruitment activities of a company. However, here on-demand recruitment services does recruitment activities partially or on a project basis. Let me give you an example here. Let's say we have company B. It's a medium-sized company. So this company recruits their own managers, own officers, own management trainees, and other personnel. So most of the recruitment is done by the company itself. Now let's say company B is trying to organize a concert here. Let's assume they want to bring in Maroon 5 or Iron Maiden or some other band. So this concert is a one-time thing for this company. So this company organizes concerts yearly only once. So it is like a project for this company. Now for this concert, they need a lot of volunteers. Now rather than recruiting these volunteers on their own, company B goes to this company, which is company Y, and asks them to recruit all of these volunteers needed to organize the concert. So what is happening here? Rather than outsourcing all of the recruitment activities, company B is outsourcing the recruitment task of one specific single project only to company Y. Now this company is called on-demand recruitment service provider. So again, one last time. In the earlier case, company Z did majority of the recruitment task of another company, and company Z was called recruitment process outsourcers. On the other hand, company Y is not doing all the recruitment activities of another company, rather doing the recruitment activities of one single project or on a project by project basis. And these types of companies are called on-demand recruitment service providers. Now, how do these companies take payment? They're not paid monthly. Rather, they are paid on an hourly basis or on a project by project basis. Obviously, right? Because they work for specific projects, not for the whole year. So they get paid according to that. So they work for a project and they get paid for that project only. So I guess now the difference between these two different types of service providers is a little bit clear. Now, if you are done, try to answer this. Say you are home alone with your younger brother or sister. Now you are given the responsibility of all the tasks in your house because you are the elder one, right? So all of the household activities are your responsibility. Now, if you outsource all the tasks to your younger brother or sister and pay him weekly or on a monthly basis, does it resemble with recruitment process outsourcers or on-demand recruitment service providers? Obviously, recruitment process outsourcers, because you outsourced 100% of your task. You did nothing. Now say, if you outsourced only the task of cleaning the floor and did the rest by yourself, then it would have been an example of on-demand recruitment service providers. Alright, I guess now it is clear. So let's move on to the next one, which is executive recruiters, or also called headhunters. This is a very simple example. What do? Headhunters find out top management talent for their clients or other organizations. So these types of companies actually recruit or find out or attract top management talent. So the CEO, CFO, CTO, CMO, and candidates of other sorts. Again, let's move on to the example. Say you work for company C. Now you need to recruit a CEO. Now, for recruiting really worthy candidates for such an important post, you go to company X. Why company X? Because this company specializes in recruiting top management talent. So they have a very good database of really worthy candidates for such important posts. They specialize in recruiting these types of people. Now, if your company C, needed to recruit fresh graduates or managers, you cannot go to this company because they do not recruit for lower level positions. They specialize only in recruiting top management talent. And trust me, finding or attracting or recruiting really good candidates for such high level posts is really difficult. And these headhunters charge a lot of money for that. All right? Now we are done with executive recruiters or headhunters. Now let's move on to the last point, which is temporary employment agency, which is also known as temp agency. I guess by listening to the name, many of you have guessed what do they do. So what are these companies? Let's take a look. So for recruiting temporary workers, such as part-time workers, organizations often go to temporary employment agencies. I guess many of you have guessed it right. So these are the companies who recruit part-time workers for other organizations. Again, an example. So you work for a company. Now, maybe you want to recruit a lot of call center people. Or maybe you work for such a company where a lot of delivery person is needed. So you need a lot of people like him who's going to deliver delicious pizza at every door, right? Now, rather than recruiting these people on your own, you can go to a temporary employment agency and ask them to recruit such part-time candidates for you. That is what temporary employment agencies do. Alright, we are at the very end of this video. Now, before I close, I want to give you a very important point here. This is very, very crucial. Please listen to me very carefully. The first of these important points. Oftentimes, recruitment service providers do not only provide recruiting services. Again, whatever recruitment service providers we have seen till now, we have discussed 4 different recruitment service providers. Oftentimes, these providers do not only provide recruiting services. Then what do they do? What other services do they provide? Here it goes. Sometimes, besides recruitment, they also provide selection services, which is sort of a package deal. So again, all of these companies, oftentimes, they provide recruitment and selection, both of these services together. So they find out, attract, and create a pool of candidates. So in other words, they recruit candidates for a given post, and after that, they also select the final candidate or the final employee for the organization. So just a reminder, those who have forgotten the difference between recruitment and selection, I'd request you to go to the specific video named Difference Between Recruitment and Selection and have a look. Otherwise, you will not understand what I meant by these 2 important points. Alright, now just to give you a summary of all the things that I said. So if we want to outsource majority of our recruitment related activities or 100% of our recruitment related activities to a specific company, then we need to go to a recruitment process outsourcer. Second, if we want to outsource some or few of our recruitment related activities of specific projects to some other company, then we need to go to on-demand recruitment service providers. Third, if we want to outsource recruitment of CEOs, CMOs, CTOs, and other important positions to somebody else, then we need to go to executive recruiters or headhunters. And finally, if we want to outsource the recruitment of candidates for part-time job positions or temporary job positions, then we need to go to temporary employment agency or temp agency. So these are all the different kinds of recruitment process outsourcing possible. That's all for this video. See you in the next video very soon.